Hello.
Hello?
Hello, I'm Gary Bellamy, and I'd just like to say welcome to Down the Line, the first ever all-phone-in talk show on Radio 4. Yep, now there's been a lot of nonsense in the press lately about how Radio 4 is too middle-class, too middle-aged, too white, but I'm having none of it. Radio 4 is the best radio station in the world, bar none. And I know, I've travelled a lot, I've seen the world, I've worked in Canada, and I can tell you there is no other channel like Radio 4. And do you want to know why? It's because of you lot, the listeners. You are the most intelligent, the most loyal, the most well-informed radio audience in the world, and the most articulate. And it's an honour to be broadcasting to you across the country and across the internet, of course, as well. Give us a call on 0800 068 7060 or email downtheline@bbc.co.uk. So, what should we talk about today? Well, freedom of speech is a hot topic, what with the Danish cartoons, David Irving being jailed in Austria, the terrorism bill aimed at outlawing the glorification of terrorism, and the recent bill that tried to legislate against religious intolerance. This is something that everyone is talking about, but what does it mean to you, freedom of speech? What does it mean to you? Do you think everyone should be allowed to say what they want, whenever they want, or do you think there should be limits? Call us on 0800 068 7060. That's the number, or email downtheline@bbc.co.uk. Okay, we're going to the phones now for our first ever call on Down the Line. Hello, what's your point, sir?
Hi. Just regarding freedom of speech.
Yes.
I've been a Labour Party activist I joined the Labour Party when I was 17, and freedom of speech is obviously a subject very dear to me.
Yes.
I got involved. I was interested in politics from quite a young age, when most people were, interested in football or music. I had quite an active interest in politics even then, and I started a debating society in my school when I was 15.
That's quite young, isn't it? Very young.
Well, yes, I suppose it is, but I'm aware of the legacy, that we have in the form of party political democracy. It's a liberal democracy, and I think it's something we should treasure and something that I've strived to maintain ever since.
Yeah.
I work for the Labour Party at grassroots level, and I feel that more and more people at this level have become dissatisfied with the central office. You have somebody like Tony Blair, who's really adopted a far more presidential style of government than even previous Labour incumbents. And the point I'm trying to make is that if I'm feeling that at this level, then I think that can only be translated generally across the country. We live in a multi-ethnic society now, and I do feel that everyone's rights need to be protected. If we encourage people to speak out as they see it, or how they, in whatever they believe, I do feel that despite paying a lot of lip service to freedom of speech, there have been many attempts recently actually to stifle public debate. The dilemma occurs when you have perhaps somebody who wants to express a religious belief, which most of us in a liberal democracy would actively encourage and support. But where do we draw the line? If, for example, somebody wants to express particularly right-wing views, in the Labour Party at grassroots level, we're aware actually of a lessening
of course. Well, yes, thank you very much for your call. Some very interesting points there. Let's go to our second caller now, Amanda Glendinning from Bath. We're talking about freedom of speech. What do you want to say?
I just think everybody should be able to say exactly what they want to say, as long as they don't upset anybody else.
Right. That's a fair point.
So I'm all for freedom of speech, but then you've got your own responsibility to make sure you don't say anything that offends anybody else.
Well, wouldn't it be a bit of a boring world if we couldn't say what we felt about a thing? If
we've got to be careful about other people's feelings.
Yes, I know that, but what if you say something about somebody? Okay, for example, if you knew someone had bad breath, and you said, I think you got bad breath, and they got offended by it, what about that?
That is very difficult. I have actually had that.
Bad breath?
No, I did have to say that to somebody.
You have to tell someone? You haven't got it yourself?
No, I hope not. You never know, that's the awful thing, isn't it?
So you told your friend he had a bad breath?
Yes, I did.
And then you upset him, did you?
I did tell him it did upset him, but it was information he needed to have, and he doesn't have bad breath now, does he?
Well, thanks for your call. I think you've probably just contradicted yourself there, but that's the thing about freedom of speech. There's so many different ways of looking at it. My next caller is John Pallister from Lennox in Cheshire. Hello, John.
Hello, Gary. I just wanted to make a point about parking restrictions.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, where I live, right, they've brought in these new parking restrictions on the high street that are absolutely killing off local business. It's bad enough you get these big supermarkets out of town everyone's banging on about, but now you can't park anywhere. You can't park on the high street. The restrictions, they're confusing, they're badly signposted. I mean, it's absolute madness. Yeah. In the past, you had your single yellow line or whatnot, the local bobby, you just have to say to him, I'm just popping to the post office or whatever for 5 minutes, would that be all right?
Yeah,
Bob's your uncle. But not now. Now you've got these parking wardens. Well, they're so inflexible, aren't they?
Yeah,
And when I go around to visit a neighbour, before you could park on his road quite happily. But now it's zone this, that, and the other, and I can't keep up. Is it A, B? Is it disabled? Is it commercial use? And these parking wardens, I mean, they're so inflexible.
Yeah, I know. Parking's one of those things that people do get quite upset about. So let's go to our next call now. Eric Pulford from Halifax.
I just literally phoned to say exactly the same thing that lad just said there.
My
mum used to say, if you can't say anything nice, then don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
She also said that a swan could break your arm with one flap of its wing. Well, it was useless information because I never came into contact with any swans. She also said your face will get stuck in the wind if you leave it in that shape.
Don't make a face, because if the wind changes, it'll look the same.
You got it, and I believed her, like a prat.
Okay, our next caller is Stuart Hill from Gloucester. What's your point, Stuart?
Well, my point is this. It's ironic, isn't it, that the once proud African man, standing on one leg looking out across the Kalahari Desert, master of all he surveyed, is now exacting a terrible revenge after centuries of oppression, removed from his homeland and subjugated, is now bringing the white man to his knees by issuing parking tickets willy-nilly. And I feel, that it actually demeans both the African man and the European man, that we are now waging a war with parking tickets, pieces of paper and bureaucracy over the silly notion of you can't park your car there, or you can park your car, for example, there.
Right, it certainly is ironic. It's a good point. Or is that racist? I'll tell you what, it'll be great to hear from someone from the black community to get their views on that, or in fact to get their views on anything. So come on, ring in if you're black. We'd love to hear from you. Hello, next caller. Hello, you're through to Down the Line. Hello.
Hello, Gary.
Hello.
I'm calling about freedom of speech because it really is, if you think about it, a cornerstone of British democracy. British people are very polite and responsible. We're a very responsible nation. We've had a long history of acceptance.
Yes.
If you don't have freedom of speech, you have a very oppressive society.
That's right, and we're lucky we haven't got that.
Yeah. I think Britain is possibly the only nation that can handle freedom of speech responsibly.
Why do you think that is?
Well, we've had a long history of being polite to each other, opening doors for ladies, sheltering under someone else's umbrella. I think that Britain should be a shining beacon to the rest of the world. And when E01, I think, expelled the Pakistanis Indians out of Uganda, they come over here and they've come on lovely.
Yeah.
Ever such lovely people. And we
thank you. Well, listen, that's lovely. Thanks very much for your call. Thank you for that. Next caller is Julian Finch from Sevenoaks in Kent. Hello, Julian. Are you black? No. What's your question?
Are we to believe that we now have on the flagship radio station of the BBC an ill-informed yob?
Whoa, listen, I defend your right to call me a yob, right? But I'm not a yob.
An ill-informed yob presiding over a ragtaggled bobtail group of idiots, ringing in with their pathetic opinions. This is Radio 4. I repeat, this is Radio 4.
I heard you the first time.
Well, what are you going to say for yourself?
Well, you just ringing in with... You're the idiot with your idiotic opinions. You're just doing what you just complained about.
I simply call into attention to you and all your listeners that this does not form a valid radio broadcast for this station. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue with you.
But this is really good. This is exactly the kind of conversation we want to have. You know, you can say whatever you like. This is your show. And
freedom of speech is not just being able to say what you like to who you like when you like.
Well, yes, it is. That's the definition of the term, freedom of speech.
So you're saying I can literally say to you now, you're a putz.
Yes, of course, you're well within your rights to call me a putz, because it's your duty to be able to say what you want in the freedom of speech. I could call you a putz.
Could you?
Well, I could. I could. I'm free to speak, but under BBC guidelines, I kind of work under a different...
And what insults are you allowed to call me under BBC guidelines? It's very interesting.
Well, I probably couldn't call you anything under BBC guidelines, because I'm employed by the BBC.
Ah, so there is no freedom of speech then?
Well, there
Not
is
under the BBC guidelines.
There is freedom of speech, right? But we at the BBC have a duty to be unbiased and put forward all sides of an argument, yeah? But as a journalist and a broadcaster, I'm obviously not allowed to insult the listeners or to promote my own particular opinions.
And what are your opinions? For instance, if I was to make love to your girlfriend and you were to catch me doing that, would you not? What would your opinion of me be then?
Well, that's nothing to do with freedom of speech.
Well, give me a word.
Well, I think you're a scoundrel. But that's nothing to do with freedom of speech. That's just an opinion. I think you've got it wrong.
I don't think I've got it wrong. I can say to you whatever I like, and you can't say anything back.
I can defend myself, but I can't call you a bad word. If outside this building and not on air...
Turd.
Sorry?
You twattock.
Listen, this is really... What is your point?
Cop.
Thank you very much. I don't think we need to descend into name-calling. We're a bit more grown-up than that. Gary Bellamy, 0800 068 7060, or email down the line at bbc.co.uk. And we've already had a load of emails through. One here from Christine Payne saying that she believes wholeheartedly in freedom of speech. One from John Burns saying that the parking restrictions around his area are completely out of control. And I've got one from Natasha Blake, who says that she thinks this show is witless drivel. Great, brilliant to have all these brilliant opinions and new emails. Keep them coming through down the line at bbc.co.uk. My next caller is Harriet Briggs from Croydon. Hello, Harriet.
Hello.
Hello.
You never see a Chinese traffic warden, do you? You just don't see them. You know, you've got all the other colours under the rainbow, but you never see a Chinese one.
No, you don't. Thanks very much for your call. And we got a call now from Barry Probert in Southend-on-Sea. Hello, Barry. Are you black?
No, I'm not black, Gary, but that's what I'm sort of ringing about, actually, as it goes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I've noticed, right, something about you and all you people in the media, right, is that you're all non-racist.
Right.
Well, that's funny, isn't it?
Why?
Don't you think, that you're all non-racist because you think that some of you would be, wouldn't you? Because I'll tell you something, right? Most of the people I meet are racist, and I meet a lot of people, and they are racist, a bit. Black or white, right? All of them are a little bit racist. So what I'm saying to you, mate, right?
Yeah.
Is how come everyone, without fail, right, who works on the radio or telly, they claim not to be racist, racialist at all?
Well, maybe that's because they're not racist. I'm not racist.
Yeah? How many black friends you got then?
One or two and a mixed race, but the fact is I'm not racist. Okay, let's do a straw poll in our studio, yeah? Okay? Tom, our engineer... Yeah, are you racist? No. Polly? And she's our production assistant. Are you racist? No. Matt, our producer, are you racist?
I am a bit.
No, there's no racist here.
Yeah, but see, that's what I mean, right? You all say it on air, you all mouth it off on air, right? But in the real world, people are. You put a camera on someone, they won't admit it. But people are very good at lying. People always have been, probably since time began, you see?
Well, I am a bit racist.
Matt, how can you... What are you saying?
Bit racist, that's all. I try and stop myself, but really I am a bit racist.
Well, look, if any black people are out there, please ring in and let us know your thoughts on this subject. Hi, I've got Humphrey on the line. Hello, Humphrey.
Yes, hello there, Gary.
Hello.
Yes. I was ringing to just pick up on an earlier call about swans.
Yes, about swans, that's right.
It is true that a fully grown swan, they have tremendously powerful wings, and a blow or a flap from a swan's wing could break one's arm.
Right.
I mean, a child, a fully grown man, I think the swan would have a bit of a fight on.
How would you protect yourself against the wingspan of a swan?
I think probably just strike it with a club.
Right. But you can't do that, can you? Because they're protected animals.
They are protected
by the Queen.
Every swan in the country is the property of the Queen.
Yeah, I think it's a terrible shame that we denied the taste of swan's flesh. I mean, it looks like a lovely bird. I mean, it'd be nice just to try it.
As a matter of fact,
yes.
I have eaten swan.
Have you?
It was at a banquet at the Stationers' Hall, tended by Prince Charles, and we were allowed to eat swan.
Is it true they only sing when they're dying?
Yes, and I have heard the dying song of a swan. It was enormously moving experience, and I cried for days.
What did it sound like?
Rather like, I don't know if you've heard some of the new Nokia ringtones.
No, I haven't. I haven't heard those.
Well, I was on a bus the other day, and with some youth, their phone went off, and instantly I was right back there, and I was in absolute floods and I thought, my God, the bus has run over a swan. Or it had flown into the glass, low-flying swan. But, of course, it was one of these ringtones, and I think this is an enormous problem of noise pollution.
Thank you. Well, thanks very much for your call. I've got another call here. I've got Peter Shaw from the Wirral. Hello, Peter.
All right, Gary, how you doing, mate?
I'm fine, thanks.
Yeah, well, I'm just ringing in to say, mate, a lot of whingers and moaners on your show.
I know.
And that actually you're doing a great job, mate.
Oh, thanks very much.
Yeah, give yourself a pat on the back, la.
I will do.
All right, ta-ra.
Thanks for your call. Now, while we're on the topic of freedom of speech, I'd like to bring in someone into the discussion here. Down the line from his home in Kent is Professor Thomas Evely, who is a supporter of David Irving, among others. He's a Holocaust denier who has written 3 books on the subject, and he's not ashamed to talk about his appreciation of Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. Now, obviously, these are not views shared by Down the Line or the BBC, but we thought it was important to let someone have their say and explain exactly what they believe and why, because we're not afraid of freedom of speech here on Down the Line. So let's go to Professor Evely. Hello, Professor. Hello, you there?
Hello.
Hello, Professor. You're on Down the Line, live on Radio 4. Professor, you maintain that 6 million Jews were not...
Hello.
Hello.
Are you coming up, Thomas?
Professor.
I'm just doing a radio program.
Are you on yet?
Yes.
No.
Hello.
I can't hear anyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Professor.
You take my tea up.
Well, it's all... I've done it. I'll just take it up for you, shall I, Tom?
Okay, thanks.
Hello, can you...
Shouldn't be a minute.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Professor Thomas Evely, hello?
Hello?
Hi.
I take that program you wanted. Shall we watch it in bed?
I'm just doing a call.
All right, well, I'm a bit confused with the leads on the DVD, but I think I can get my head round it.
Okay, I'm just doing this, and then I'll be up.
Hello, you're through now. We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello, Professor, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello, Professor?
Tom, there's a message on the other phone.
Hello, Professor. We're trying to get through to... Let's let you know there's a bit of a problem here. I'm trying to get through to Holocaust denier, Professor Thomas Evely, very controversial figure who supports the Nazis and Adolf Hitler and denied the Holocaust ever existed. He's now on the phone. We're just trying to get hold of him. Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Professor, I can hear you. Now, your views and opinions have caused controversy wherever you've gone. You're one of the most hated people in Britain. Hello. I just wonder if you could... Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me? We'll have to try him later. We'll have to ring him back.
There?
We'll have to come back. Sorry about that. We'll try and get hold of Professor Evely later on in the show. Let's go to another call from Patrick Ingram from Thetford. Hello, Patrick.
Hello?
Hello there. You're through to Down the Line. Hi.
Yes.
Are you from the black community?
I'm not, as a matter of fact, but if I were, I'd be very proud to represent the black community.
Good.
And in fact, that's why I've been listening to your program with a growing sense of unease. Regarding the treatment of immigrants, asylum seekers, and what have you in this country.
That's right, yeah.
I'm proud of my country, but not in a jingoistic way.
No.
And I believe it behoves us to welcome these people into our country. We need to be understanding and welcoming, but firm with them.
In what way should we be firm?
Well, I make it my business to literally extend a hand of friendship to them. And I practice what I preach. If I see a person of colour, or what looks to be an asylum seeker, I proffer the hand of friendship. I extend my hand, I shake them warmly by there, and I say, welcome to our country. We are a peaceful, understanding people with a great liberal tradition.
Yeah.
If you abide by these traditions, you'll find us civilised, peace-loving, welcoming people, and our underlying philosophy is live and let live.
Yeah. You should be proud of yourself.
I am.
If everyone was like you, this country would be a better place.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your call. I've got Horace from Wiltshire. Hello, Horace.
Yes. Well, I think sometimes freedom of speech is inappropriate, you know. I think women should be asked to pay a small charge if they wish to talk about how well their children are doing at school and how worried they are about finding them the right place at the next school.
Why should
they should pay a fine, £50.
Why?
Well, because it would encourage them not to be so tedious when they're sitting next to me at dinner parties, you know. That's what I think about freedom of speech.
Well, thank you very much for your call, Horace.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, you're live on Down the Line with Gary Bellamy. Hello.
Oh, hello, Mr. Bellamy. No,
hello.
I hear your discussion and you're talking about there's no black people phoning up.
That's right. We wanted some black people to ring in, yeah?
Yeah, so I'm a black man and I hear what you're talking about. So I just ring up to express my view, opinion and all that.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you from?
I'm from Barbuda. Barbuda, you know?
Barbuda?
Yeah, Barbuda, yes, that's right.
Are you joking?
Huh?
There's no such place as Barbuda. That's a cross between Barbados and Bermuda, isn't it?
Huh? Wait, no, I'm from Barbuda,
There's no such place, don't be silly.
Hold on. Barbuda. It's not Barbados, Barbuda, yes. That's where I'm from.
Sorry, and I'm sorry, there's no such place. This is a hoax call. I want to talk to genuine black callers.
No.
You're making a hoax.
Barbuda.
There is no such place as Barbuda. Thank you very much.
What are you talking about, man?
Right, my next caller is, I've got Kenneth Pardue here from Reading. Hello, Kenneth.
Hello.
Hello there. What's your point? What's your question?
Well, I'd just like to say that I agree entirely with the previous caller.
Okay. And do you want to add anything to that?
Well, unfortunately, they've pretty well covered everything I was going to say. Yes, I agree entirely with what they said.
Okay, well, thanks very much for your call, Kenneth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, you're through to Down the Line. Hello. Hello, are you black?
No, I'm not, mate, no.
Oh, okay.
No. But I'll tell you what I do, I want to make a point.
Yes?
I'm saying about the if this was the 70s, right?
Yeah.
Then we had proper freedom of speech, you could say what you liked.
In what way?
Well, you see a pretty nice bird walking down there, nice Richard walking down there, hello, darling, you know, these days, blimey, you get locked up for that, wouldn't you, girl? Hey?
You don't really get locked up for it, do you?
Hello, darling, you know, while you're down there, if they're bending over near you, while you're down there, no one batted an eyelid. Lovely jugs, nice frubnies, frubny bits.
But that is like 25, 30 years ago.
So what? Still fresh in my mind, Cal.
Yeah, but
there was a spring in my step then. Life was more, colours were brighter.
Yeah.
See?
But I think
think about a program that used to be on then, Love Thy Neighbour, on the buses.
Yeah.
Why don't they show them no more?
Because they're dated and they're quite racist.
Do you know what? Yeah, but people liked them.
That's because they didn't know any different, you see.
No.
Now they know that it's wrong.
You try and brush it under the carpet.
I'm not brushing anything
under
the carpet.
You try and brush them programs under the carpet. People liked them.
So you're saying that we were freer to say what we wanted 30 years ago?
I could lean out my van window and I could say, hello, darling.
Yeah.
Lovely jugs.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. But you're free to do that if you want. That's the whole point of freedom of speech.
Well, thank you very much.
But, you know, it's not, if you're a woman walking down the street and you had some man shouting that to you,
well,
you wouldn't like that much, would you?
I'll tell you what, that's the price you have to pay for freedom, isn't it, Gary?
Yeah, I suppose it is.
Swings and roundabouts. Swings and roundabouts, mate.
Yeah.
Swings and roundabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you keep saying swings and roundabouts.
Swings and roundabouts.
What about them?
Well, you know, swings and roundabouts, mate.
I honestly have no idea what he was talking about. Now, I've just been handed a note here from my producer, Matt, who says that Barbuda is an actual place and it does exist. So I'm really sorry to Don, who is our first black caller. If you want to ring back and tell us what your point was, I'm terribly, terribly sorry. I'm sorry if I doubted you. Okay, let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live and Down the Line with Gary Bellamy. Hello.
Hello,
Gary. You're not black, are you? Obviously, you're not black.
Well, why do you make that assumption?
Because you don't sound it.
Well, I mean, how is one supposed to sound if one is black? I'm blacker than the night, my friend. I mean, what
you don't sound it.
Well, whether I sound it or not has got nothing to do with this. I mean, this is a form of inverted racism.
No, it's not. I'm not racist.
You see, let us try to move forward in a more positive way.
Don't call me I'm not a racist. How
can I prove to you? Look, listen, every night not every night, but on some nights I have jollof rice and fufu.
What is your point? What are you ringing about?
Please don't take that tone, because you...
No, I'm not taking any tone, but I'm not racist. You call me racist.
You are racist because you're assuming that because I'm black, I have to speak in a certain way, and I'm telling you that...
No, I don't. It's just, sometimes I can tell if someone's from Scotland by the sound of their voice. I can tell if someone's a woman. I can tell if someone's a man. I can tell if someone's a child. I just assumed, I didn't think you were black.
Can you tell if somene's from Guildford, for God's sake,
What?
I mean, can you tell if someone's from Guildford?
I've never been to Guildford. I don't know what they sound like, but I'm not that specific.
Well, there you go. Well, don't make claims that you can't back up.
Okay, listen, hang on a second. Do I sound black to you?
Well, you could be black, but I think... Well,
come on, be honest. Could I be black?
Of course you could be black. Why couldn't you be black?
Do I sound like I'm black?
Just 1 moment, please. It depends on the demographic environment and circumstances which are responsible for your socialization. And in my case, as a black person...
How do your parents speak?
My mother is very, very well spoken. In fact, she's a university graduate. But my father is rather ting-and-ting.
So he does sound black?
Well, he does ting-and-ting and ding-a-ling.
Right, what's ting-and-ting and ding-a-ling then?
What is ting-and-ting and ding-a-ling?
Yeah.
Well, he tends to sort of...
Well, can you impersonate your father?
Well, yes.
How does he talk?
Where you been all this time?
There you go. Do a bit more.
Where you been all this time?
There you go. You sound black.
I thought you said you were supposed to come in here by 3 o'clock.
Come in here. That's the bit that sounds black. Come in here.
No.
Where you been all this time? You come in.
I don't know if you've ever been to Jamaica, but there's some white people there. There's some white people there who sound exactly like that, in fact, But this is all beside the point and rather tiresome.
I quite like talking about it because I'm learning more about the voice of black people than I ever had done before.
I'm not the voice of black people. I'm the voice of myself.
You're speaking for your race and for your...
I'm speaking for my race. What a preposterous suggestion.
You're defending
If I made a statement to you, if I were to say to you, why didn't you sort your race out? You would regard that as a preposterous suggestion. And therefore, for you to say that I'm speaking on behalf of my race is an equally preposterous suggestion. I do consider myself to be a brethren, and I'm 100% black. But that's not to say that there could be a young youth, somewhere in Brixton or something like that. How could I possibly articulate his opinion? We do have similar views. We do have a similar perspective on the world, but that doesn't mean to say that I represent him. And for you to deny the vast multiplicity of perspectives that we have is a calumny, really,
Okay, we're fine. We've got that there. We've established that. But what exactly is it you're ringing in for? What is your point? Why did you ring in the first place?
I'm ringing in to say that I think that parking fines are far too severe, and something should be done about it, really.
That's it?
Well, yes.
Thanks very much for your call. Well, we're out of time here, I'm afraid. What a shame. I could have gone on talking all night. But alas, that is the end of the show. And thanks to all our callers today. Some great opinions. Not sure I agree with all of them. But the world would be a boring place if everyone agreed with each other, wouldn't it? Don't you think? So if you couldn't get through today, please try again for next week. We'll be talking about the European Union, sport on TV, and the war on terror and rape.